Okay, hello, all my lovelies. Thank you so much for joining me on this lovely, lovely Sunday. And I hope your day is going so good so far. And as always, I am your hostess, Peyton. So for today, I have finally a solved case. Whoop whoop, yay! It is going to be a doozy of a case just because it's kind of messed up. But, what's not in these murder mystery cases. So I hope you're ready for this one. Hope you got your headphones on or your radio turned up, and I just hope that you're comfortable because, like I just said, this one is going to be a little bit crazy. This is the case of Linda Anderson, aka the Bathtub Girls case. Linda Anderson was born April 15th of 1959 and was a single mother of 3 kids who were Sandra, who was 15, Elizabeth, 16, and Bobby, who was about 3. They all lived in Ontario, Canada. So she had been married 2 different times, but unfortunately neither of those marriages worked out. From what I read, the first one, her first husband, the one that gave her the kids, abandoned them after all the kids were born. So that's very unfortunate. Linda had suffered from depression, so to cope, like many people, she did use alcohol. After her second husband, though, who was abusive and he was convicted of drunken driving, her drinking was noticeably worse by her family, her friends, definitely her kids. So, and then before she became unemployed, she was a x-ray technician, which quite fucking impressive, but Linda had spent most of her money on alcohol instead of her kids, which led her 2 daughters, Sandra and Elizabeth, to kind of just hate her for it. Sandra and Elizabeth had always wanted what their friends had: the new clothes, a new home with the swimming pool, and parents who just gave them attention. In a past time, the girls somewhere indicated to a priest that in their childhoods they were victims of sexual abuse. And Sandra had said that usually driving her mother was drunk and that Linda didn't necessarily seem to care about their safety nor her own. She said, in quotes, quote, Linda couldn't provide the bare necessities for her family, end quote. So it kind of sounds to me like Sandra didn't really like her mother a lot based off of what I'm anyway. Sandra and Elizabeth have had enough of their mother's drinking and carelessness for her kids. So come January 18th, 2003, they made a very adult decision that around noon the girls would start giving Linda alcohol with the intentions of getting her drunk, and gave her 6 Tylenol 3 pills. So if you don't know what Tylenol 3 pills are, they often have the intentions of slowing down your heart. So whilst giving her the alcohol and the drugs, they filled up the bathtub to put their mom in, who was, of course, nothing but dead weight because she was freaking drunk. The girls then tended to put on clothes to give Linda a massage, quote unquote. And Sandra told her mom to lay on her back for the massage, which, of course, her being drunk, she did so. But instead of giving her a massage, Sandra just ended up pushing her mother's head under the water for 4 fucking minutes, okay? Unfortunately, Linda was way too drunk and drugged to fight back, and at that time, her mom was already dead after those 4 minutes, of course. The girls tried to reposition Linda's body after the murder to kind of make it look like she drowned instead of the daughters doing something. So the girls then had to make sure that they had a very tight alibi. So they ended up calling or texting their friends and telling them to meet up at a restaurant so they can all go and hang out and discuss what the plan was, what they were going to say if they were questioned by police, the whole 10 yards. And they were actually telling their friends how excited and proud of themselves they were for murdering their mom. Yeah, that's kind of fucking messed up in my eyes. I don't even know how they had the nads to do that, but They made sure that their friends were very up to date with the alibi, so Sandra and Elizabeth came back from the restaurant around 10 p.m. that night to, quote, discover, unquote, their mom's dead body in the bathtub. They ended up calling the police and made a police report, and they told them that they had left the house around 6 p.m., And before they left, their mom was already drunk and starting the bath for herself. Also, just a little note in here. If anybody was wondering where Bobby was this whole time, nowhere in this report, like during the murder, did I see if he was like at someone else's house or if he was still there with the mom while they were doing it. I have no idea, but he was somewhere, so I'm sure he's okay. The police arrive and take Linda's body in for an autopsy, which, as you would suspect, it was ruled as an accidental drowning due to her high level of alcohol intake. So Sandra and Elizabeth have gotten away with murder at this time, and then they were then moved in with their aunt, whilst Bobby had to go and live with a different family member. And from their mom's life insurance, Bobby wound up with $67,000, and Sandra and Elizabeth ended up with $133,000. So that kind of just sounds like they were getting what they wanted whenever they wanted what their friends had, the clothes, the house, and maybe not the parents, but they got the money now. Anyway, found in a later article that the girls did really love to party. They were at a party practically almost every weekend. But 11 months after they decided to drown Linda, the girls went, of course, to a party, and it was Sandra that told her male friend, because she was the most proud and excited out of her and Sandra about what they did. Again, she wound up telling a male friend, that they killed their mom. The male friend actually had brains, just saying. He was very uncomfortable and uneasy with what she had told him, and he did what anybody else would have done. He took his ass straight to the fucking police. Period. The police told him to get her to confess for a second time, but this time he would have to wear a wire to catch her confessing to the murder. So it took over a month, but the friend had finally got her to confess. He had to go and pick up Sandra to hang out, and he didn't even really have to try to get her to confess. She just started talking about it. Like I said, she was proud of what she did. So she confessed again and even said something along the lines of, "This isn't being recorded, right?" as a joke. That is so fucking disgusting. But finally, on January 21st of 2004, Sandra and Elizabeth were taken into custody in separate youth detention facilities because, remember, they were only 15 and 16. The girls both tried to deny that neither of them had anything to do with their mom's death until a few hours later, little Miss Sandra finally cracked and admitted that her and Elizabeth were both responsible for killing their mother. After that, the sisters were not allowed to see each other unless the police were within them or, right up on them. So, later on in the confession or the instigation, whatever you want to call it, Sandra ends up trying to backtrack, saying that Elizabeth had nothing to do with her mom's murder and that that what she said was a mistake, which... be so serious. How would you mistake in something like that? That's not really something you're just like, oops, sorry, that slipped. Okay, anyway. The police went back to the house and went onto their computer just to find out that the girls used the fucking internet to figure out ways to kill their alcoholic mother. They had messages between friends about their plans and what they would have had to have done to have killed her. Hence why they used Tylenol 3s. So they took the computer in as evidence. The girls' trial began in November of 2005, so 2 years later, ending up both of them being found guilty of first-degree murder, which, that's good. They were both sentenced to 10 years in prison. June of 2006, so a year later, they were sent to prison, which is the maximum youth penalty in Canada. Someone named Justin Bruce Duncan said that despite growing up in a poor, depressing, and degrading home environment, the girls were unable to empathize with their mother because she was just absent a lot due to Linda working double shifts And she was always exhausted, which always led her to drink more. So the police had also found out, surprise, surprise, that Elizabeth had a boyfriend, which is where they found their Tylenol 3s. He was found guilty of conspiring to the murder of Linda and trying to cover it up, which those are the messages I was just talking about that were in the computer discussing the plan. So yeah, he's kind of dumb. He was sentenced to 18 months in prison, but he got out in 8 months due to good behavior. I don't know how I feel about this good behavior thing on certain type of cases, but that's just me. So, buckle up for this, because this right here, bullshit. In 2009, Sandra was released to a halfway house, and in 2010, she graduated from a university and was working as a scientist by 2020. Also, in 2010, Elizabeth was released, ended up getting married, having kids, and going into law school. There's a movie that came out in about 2014 that was called The Perfect Sisters that was based off of this case. So what you're hearing right now is pretty much by the end of all this, killing their own mother. They got to live free lives by the end, like, happily. After they killed their poor mother, someone who raised them and more than likely cared about them, but she was just in a hard place. She couldn't... I personally haven't been through that, but I understand. Like, things get fucking rough. But my condolences do rest with Linda, because she did not deserve anything that happened to her, even though that she was drunk and some things weren't going right. She was doing what she could do. And unfortunately, her daughters took her life. But anyways, that is the end of this case. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Mysteries of Insanity, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a like or a comment on whatever platform you're listening to or whatever floats your boat. And as always, I hope you have a lovely, lovely Sunday. See ya!